Hello, lovers of Westeros. I am Ashley of Noth, here to talk to you about all things A Song of Ice and Fire. Today's video will be part 1 in my 3-part series of the best moments from Season 7 of Game of Thrones. So, if you're interested in my take on the show's best moments from this season, keep watching. Moments 30 through 21 are on the way. Coming in at number 30, the Ed Sheeran cameo. Now, I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised by this. The show doesn't often bring celebrities in, especially people as big as Ed Sheeran, but I felt like this really worked. Ed's vocals were spectacular as always, and the show didn't have him doing too much acting, so he was kept within his wheelhouse. And I think if you're going to bring a celebrity from outside the acting industry in to do a guest appearance, this is definitely the way to do it. Job well done. Coming in at number 29, Jim Broadbent as Archmaester Ebrose. I love Jim Broadbent, so when I heard that he was cast, I was over the moon. He's such a talented actor, so I knew he'd knock this role out of the park, which of course he did, and I had thought that he'd play Archmaester Marwyn and that we'd see the only maester who believes in magic working alongside Sam and eventually leave the Citadel to go maester for Daenerys. But alas, he was Archmaester Ebrose, and he played the hard-ass skeptic role really well. It was also a nice throwback to Jim's role as Professor Slughorn on Harry Potter when in his first scene with Sam asks the Archmaester for access to the restricted area of the Citadel's library. It was very much reminiscent of a convo young Voldemort had with Professor Slughorn in Harry Potter. I also want to say that I am 100% certain that the Archmaester gave Sam the book with the information about the Dragonglass under the guise of transcription as a way to subliminally help, since the Archmaester made it clear that he kind of believed Sam, but he wasn't going to put his personal ideas ahead of the Citadel's ideas. So that was pretty cool. Overall, this was an excellent portrayal by Jim Broadbent and an excellent cast choice by the show. Coming in at number 28, Daenerys Goes Home. Though this scene was only 5 minutes and 30 seconds and featured only 3 spoken words, it was still pretty powerful. The look on Dany's face as her boat approached Dragonstone and the look on her face when the castle gates opened said it all. Daenerys was finally home. She was transient through her youth, always eluding Robert Baratheon's knives, and even from Illyrio's manse to now, Daenerys never felt like she was home and often daydreamed about going to where she thought was home. Daenerys was also probably thinking of her brother and how it was always supposed to be him that came back to conquer Westeros, but here she is doing it. And when she bends down to touch the ground and feel the sand in between her fingers, it's like she's visualizing that this is the place where her ancestors stood, that this was the birthplace of the Targaryen dynasty. And this moment actually brought to mind the time the Night King touched the ground outside of Bloodraven's cave. Both touched the ground outside caves for vastly different reasons, but the visual parallel is still there. And given the theory that Dany may become the Night Queen, I digress. This moment has been thought of from the very beginning of the story, and now that it's here, it's pretty effing awesome. That it occurred in 99% silence just made it that much more powerful. And again, I have to say, job well done. Coming in at number 27, Cersei and Jaime in the map room. Now, there's not much to say about the conversation Cersei and Jaime had, but I included this for another reason. If we take in the visual aspect, we can see that at one point, Cersei is standing on the part of the map where the neck lands are located, while Jaime is standing by the fingers. This could have been a massive hint about the identity of the Voluncar. You'll recall the Voluncar is a prophesied person who will kill Cersei, and per Maggie the Frog, the Voluncar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you. So the placement in this scene would suggest that Jaime, standing at the fingers, will be the one to choke Cersei, who's standing at the neck. Now, I can't say that this is a definitive confirmation, but it's certainly a very suggestive hint that Jaime is the Voluncar. Coming in at number 26, Daenerys meets Melisandre. Originally, I wouldn't have pegged these two characters as ever meeting, but it was pretty cool to see them share a scene or two. As Brienne pointed out in Season 6, Melisandre's loyalty is very fluid, so I fully expected Melisandre to jump ship after Jon exiled her and go to Dany's side and start proclaiming Dany as the one that was promised. But surprisingly, Mel did just the opposite, and she actually advocated on Jon's behalf to Daenerys. Mel never named Dany the princess that was promised and merely told her that she had a role to play in the Long Night, as did Jon Snow. Mel made sure to tell Dany all the right things about Jon that mirrored Dany's own actions. Things like admitting the free folk to the realm to save them from a grave danger and then uniting the free folk with the northern houses to fight their common enemy, the army of the dead. To me, this is a lot like Dany smashing the slave trade to free those in bondage and then later uniting all the rival Dothraki KHALASARs into one big KHALASAR to fight her common enemy, Cersei and the Lords of Westeros. Then Mel encourages Dany to summon Jon and speak to him, all in her efforts to continue helping Jon. I have to say, I really liked seeing Mel do the right thing for once, and being the bridge between Dany and Jon is arguably one of the best things she's ever done, and I hope we get to see more of this Melisandre going forward. Coming in at number 25, The Kiss of Death. Oh yes, who could forget the kiss of death? Poor Tyene. Being gagged, tied up, poisoned, and forced to die a slow death while your mother watches is pretty brutal. Though I can't say I'm mad at Cersei for doing it. The Sand Snakes should have never killed Myrcella. Yes, she was a Lannister, but the Lannisters weren't technically responsible for Oberyn's death. His own cockiness was. Also, Oberyn was 100% against hurting children, so killing one to avenge him made no sense, and I hate that the show did that. Also, had Myrcella been allowed to live, she would have made an extremely valuable hostage. Cersei could have been forced to step down in exchange for her daughter's life. She could have been forced into permanent exile in exchange for Myrcella's life. Or I could be totally wrong, and if forced to choose between power or her child, maybe Cersei would choose power. That was actually the direction Martin is going in the books with Myrcella, using her as a pawn against her mother, and that would have been intriguing to watch play out, to say the least. Now, it's also worth noting that the Sand Snakes killed Prince Doran and Prince Trystane in the same assassination scheme, and nobody is more cursed than the Kinslayer. So I say all this to say, I just felt like this had to happen, and Cersei was 100% justified and actually showed some restraint in her method of murder. Oh my god, I just sided with Cersei. Lord help me. Coming in at number 24, Melisandre and Greyworm's sex scene. Man oh man, this was one of my highlights of the season for sure. I have to admit, I thought it couldn't be done, but no cock, no problem. As Melisandre said, they could do many things. I was happy that she and Greyworm found a way to do this because they have arguably the sweetest relationship on the show, and I really liked both of the characters, so watching them achieve some new intimacy was pretty cool, and even without all the necessary parts, this sex scene was actually pretty steamy. And then you've got the scene afterwards where Dany is asking Melisandre for details, and that was just pretty funny too. And I know somewhere out there, Theon Greyjoy must be doing cartwheels because now there's hope for him too. At number 23, Tormund and The Hound, Beyond the Wall. This was one of my favorite parts of the entire season, and I still laugh when I think about it. These two were perfect together, and I hope they are put together in future episodes. One of the funny parts was Tormund pushing the Hound's buttons, approaching him for the first time with the comment, "So you're the one they call the dog." And the Hound just tells him to fuck off, but Tormund just keeps going, asking if the Hound was born mean or just hates wildlings. And getting increasingly agitated, the Hound says he doesn't give two shits about wildlings, it's gingers he hates. Then Tormund gets bold, tells the Hound that gingers are beautiful and kissed by fire just like him, pointing his finger in the Hound's face. The Hound can't have his personal space violated, so he immediately shoves Tormund's hand away, ordering Tormund not to point his effing finger at him. And then Tormund flashes that $1 million grin and keeps on pressing the Hound, eventually getting to the best part of the conversation. Tormund starts talking about Brienne, saying he's got a great beauty waiting for him at Winterfell. After he describes her appearance, the Hound realizes who Tormund is referring to and asks him if he's with Brienne of effing Tarth. Then Tormund says, "No, but I see the way she looks at me." Pause. So right here we can see that Tormund is totally misreading all the signals, but in a very sweet way. Continuing on, the Hound says, like she wants to carve you up and eat your liver. And Tormund, looking totally in awe, says, "So you do know her." It's just so funny that Tormund is encouraged and turned on by that look. And again, he's totally misreading all the signals. But Tormund goes on to reveal that he wants to have babies with Brienne and that said babies would be monsters that would conquer the world. And what makes this so funny is that Tormund's got his whole life with Brienne planned out, but they aren't even together yet. And coming from this hard, grisly, fearsome warrior, I find this to just be extremely endearing. The deal was sealed on this budding bromance when the Hound saved Tormund's life. I was actually in tears at this point because I really thought that Tormund was a goner. And when he got swarmed and screamed, "Help me," my heart just stopped. But alas, the Hound heard Tormund's screams, and Sandor Clegane saved him, and Tormund lived on. Clearly, the Hound wasn't as annoyed by Tormund as he let on, because the Hound could have just let him die, but he didn't. Wow, I've talked a whole lot about this. Maybe it should have been higher on my list. Number 22, the Hound reads the flames. My favorite character has really kicked ass this season. I've actually loved seeing the show expand the character depth for the Hound beyond just killer warrior. Having him receive a fire vision was actually pretty cool because it made sense but was totally unexpected. Since the Hound has literally been kissed by fire, it makes sense that R'hllor would want to connect with him. But we hadn't seen anyone who wasn't a red priest or priestess get a fire vision, so for me, this wasn't predictable, yet it was perfect for the character. Now, the other interesting part about this was that on his first try, the Hound was 100% correct with his interpretation and got a full, complete vision from R'hllor. In other words, the Hound proved himself more useful in 2 minutes than Melisandre has been the entire story, and that just tickles me. At number 21, Euron taunts Jaime. First things first, Pilu Aizbeg is the breakout star of the season. He steals the show every time he's on screen. He was the perfect cast choice, and he knocks it out of the park so consistently. I can't say enough good things about him. I mean, who else makes plotting to murder their niece and nephew sound cool? Death threats just have a way of rolling off his tongue, I guess. But back to the trolling. Jaime is clearly jealous since Euron wants to marry Cersei, and Euron knows this. In their first scene together, Jaime attempts to discredit Euron heavily in front of Cersei, but the Crow's Eye just won't let Jaime win. Accuse Euron of starting a rebellion, which led to Jaime himself going to the Iron Islands to fight the Ironborn. No problem. I saw you there and was pleased to see the tales of your swordsmanship were true because I didn't believe them. The sight of you cutting men down was glorious. The men Jaime cut down were Euron's own kin. No problem. The Iron Islands were getting a bit crowded and Euron enjoyed seeing them die. Jaime enjoyed killing the Greyjoys? No problem. If the Greyjoys hadn't been smashed, Euron wouldn't have been exiled. If he wasn't exiled, he wouldn't be the greatest captain of the 14 Seas. So you get the idea. The harder Jaime tried to demean Euron, the more Euron spun the insults to his own favor. Jaime is a pompous asshole in my opinion, so I thoroughly enjoyed Euron handing his ass right back to him. But it didn't end there. Euron casually proposes to Cersei and goes on to say that here I am with 1,000 ships in 2 good hands. And the look on Jaime's face was absolutely priceless. He got punked straight up and couldn't do a damn thing about it. To quote Euron directly, it was glorious. Now, I think this comment may have also been a hint that Euron Greyjoy is the Valonqar, but I digress. Euron's trolling was at an all-time high in Season 7, Episode 3. Euron had just presented Cersei with her daughter's killers, Ellaria and Tyene, and was standing next to Jaime in the throne room looking upon the cheering crowd. Euron takes his first shot, telling Jaime there's nothing like the love of the people, but Jaime wouldn't know anything about that. Now, this is a clear jab at Jaime's reputation as a kingslayer and the disdain all of Westeros has for him. Then, Jaime, bless his little heart, tries to shut Euron down by saying the same people would cheer to see Euron's head on a spike if Euron betrayed them. Ever the wordsmith, Euron shoots back coolly with, or yours, they just like severed heads, really. Then Euron goes in for the kill. He says to Jaime, if you've got any advice, I'd love to hear it. When we have an hour or two to speak as brothers. Jaime cuts him off, confused, and asks advice, to which Euron says, does she like it gentle or rough? A finger in the bum? Seizing with anger, Jaime makes to respond, but Euron shushed him. He literally put his finger up and shushed him. Then Euron says, not now, we'll talk later, and leaves Jaime to go bow in front of Cersei amidst the cheering crowd. Did I mention that I love Euron? Watching him punk Jaime over and over has been pretty effing hilarious. As mentioned before, Jaime is an overconfident jerk who's pretty much useless at this point and needs to be brought down a few notches. And Euron Greyjoy is the perfect man for the job. And that is going to conclude the Game of Thrones Season 7 Best Moments Part 1 Countdown. I hope everyone enjoyed my picks for moments 30 through 21. If you did, be on the lookout for Part 2 and let me know your picks for this season's best moments. I am Ashley of Noth. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and join my KHALASAR. I'd like to shout out my blood riders and wish everyone watching have an excellent day, and as usual, 7 blessings, everyone.